Hello everyone, welcome to lesson 8 from chapter 2, solve percent problems. This can be found on page 155 of your books. So when we talk about solve percent problems, we're really talking about a proportion. Okay, as you can see right here, proportion. What do we mean by that? Or percent proportion? Let's read it. A proportion is an equation that shows that two ratios are equivalent. Okay, a proportion, a piece. If things are proportionate, it means they are equal or they move at the same rate or so. In a percent proportion, one ratio compares a part of the whole. The other ratio is the equivalent, equivalent percent written as a fraction with a denominator of 100 out of 100. So what we mean by that is this, boys and girls. Let's say on a test, out of 20, the test was out of 20, you scored, let's say, 18, which is a great score. Well, we want to make an equivalent fraction out of 100, okay, so that we can figure out what it is per 100, out of 100, which will make it a percent, right? So, I multiply this by 5 to get 100. I should do the same to the 18, multiply it by 5, okay? And that'll give you, okay, you missing 2, so it should give you 90, right? 90%. So when you score 18 out of 20 on a test, you actually scored 90%. 90 out of 100, right? Now let's identify the parts of a fraction, okay? How do you compare part and a whole? Let's see, here we have a fraction. We have the top, we have just the part, and the bottom we have a whole. So it's out of 5, that's your whole, okay? The whole can be cut up into 5 pieces, and we only have 2 of those pieces. What do you call the part? What do we call the top number? Many of you already know we call it the numerator. And what do we call the bottom number, the whole? The denominator, okay? Ratio. Now remember, we have the difference between a fraction and a ratio. A ratio compares two completely different values, right? And a fraction is just a part of a whole number, right? So this is the same number, it's just part of it, and a ratio is a comparison between two numbers. So if we're going to use the same two numbers, we can say, like, for example, for every 2, right? For every 2, we have 5 of something. So for every 2 oranges I may have 5 apples, okay? For every 2 boys in the classroom, there are 5 girls. For every, let's say, 2 black hats that I have 5 white hats. So it's comparing 2 different items. So using the information in the first ratio, fill in the others. So this could be 2 to 5. Right? We won 2 games and we lost 5 games, we could say. And the ratio would be 2 to 5. Right? And how do we do this as a percent? Well, as a percent, we have 2 out of 5. Convert it out of 100. Well, you know, we have to, whatever we do to the 5 to make it 100, we must do to the 2. Okay? So we know that we multiply the 5 times 20, right? Because 20 times 5 is 100. So we must do the same to the top. We multiply it by 20, and we get our 40. 40 out of 100 is 40%, right? So 40%. Okay, go ahead and draw this as our key answer, and maybe you can tell me what it is in class. Now let's look at the real world link, okay? So let's zoom that in. We have enough. And it's about basketball. Kara is on her school basketball team. She has completed 9 out of 12. 9 of 12 free throw shots successfully. A free throw shot is when you get a foul. Usually you get a free throw from the top of the key. And if you get it in, you get the point. So she's completed 9 of 12. 9 out of 12. Write the ratio as a percent and as a fraction in simplest form. Let's do that. Okay? So we write the ratio first. Right? We write the ratio. She's completed 9 of 12, right? As a fraction in simplest form would be 3 out of 4, correct? Because I have 3 3s there, right? I have 3 3s there, and over here I have 4 of those 3s, don't I? Okay, so really it's 3/4, right? Okay, so I have 3/4 as the simplest form, and 3/4 as a percent is going to be 75, right? Because I multiply this times 25, yeah, to make it 100. So I have to do the same thing to the 3 times 25, and I get my 75 out of 100, which is 75%. Okay, so in short, our ratio is 9 to 12. Okay, 9 made and out of 12. Okay, so it would be really, if this were a ratio, we would write it more like 9 and 3, wouldn't we? Because we would have 9 shots completed, 9 shots made, and 3 shots missed, which would make it a true ratio because they're both separate numbers. But that's the way we're going to write it for now. Actually, add this to it. Add this to it. I'm just going by what the textbook is telling me, but this is the more correct way to write it. And then we have the simplified fraction and our percent. Okay, go ahead and put a nice star right there as a key answer. Now on the next page, page 156, we have to get very familiar with the wording. Okay, so pay very close attention. Whenever they say 30 is something, you see here 30 is 50%. You see how they're saying that? 30 is 50%. Really what they're saying is 30 is 50%. We put that 50 over 100 because it's percent, it's per 100, and then we figure out what the bottom is. Okay? Is that clear? And now you know that 50 is half of 100, so this must be half of the whole, right? And half of the whole, it would have to be 60 down here. As you see, it's 100, right? As you see, this 50 is only half, so 30 would only be half of this amount. Okay, that's the way to figure that one out. B. Again, we have 60 is 20%. 60 is 20%, right? 20% we know is out of 100. So 60 is 20%. We know that 20%, boys and girls, is 1/5, right? When we simplify it, 1/5. Here's 120, and here we have 5 20s. So this is 1/5. Well, this is only 1 out of 5. Well, what's 60 times 5? We need 5 of them, right? It would be 300. So our answer is 300. So this is not your answer. Please do not give me a fraction as your answer. 60 is 20% of what number? Your answer would be just 300. Got it? Just 300. Don't give me a fraction, please. That's not your answer. That's the way we get the answer. Now we have a word problem. Peyton spent 60% of her money to buy a new television. I'm just going to go right ahead and write 60%. 60 per 100, okay? Go ahead and do that. Every time you see a percent, go ahead and just write it as a fraction out of 100. You know that. If the television costs $300, how much money did she have? So the television costs $300, and that's 60%, right? Because she said Peyton spent 60% of her money to buy a new television. So 60% of her money was $300. You see that? 60% is $300. There we go. Okay? We know that 60%, boys and girls, when we're working with 20s, 60% is 3/5. Is it not? It's 3/5. What did I do to the 3 to make it 300? Do the same to the 5. Well, as far as I can see, I just added 2 zeros, didn't I? So let's just do the same to the 5 and add 2 zeros. So how much money did she have? She had $500. Okay, again, this is not the answer. Please, 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 please do not make this the answer. This is just a fraction. I need the actual answer, the number. Now here's what we've been working on. We've been working on creating equivalent fraction, and this is the example that you'll find on page 157. Just finding, making equivalent fractions to find the numbers that you need. And let's work with these then. Remember to always include your answers when you do your textbook. Include your answers right here. Sometimes I put them all over the screen, but I would like you to put them up on the top there where it goes. Okay, let's see. 75 is 15%. There we go. 75 is 15%. Right? 75 is 15%. That's number one. So 15%. 15%. You can simplify that to, you have 3 5s at the top and 25s at the bottom, don't you? But what do you have 3 off right here? What do you have 3 off there? You have 3 25s, don't you? 3 25s. To make it short, we can say I multiply this 3 times 25 to give me 75. So I have to do the same thing to the 20 and multiply it by 25, don't we? And that will give you 500. So 500 is the first answer. 500. Okay. 9 is 36%. So we would just write it like this. 9 is 36% per 100, right? Alright, let's put it over this. What did I do to the 9 to make it 36? Multiplied it by 4. Okay, so we have to divide this by 4 to go back and fill it, right? Whatever you did go in this way, you have to do the opposite, go in this way. Don't forget, right? So when you divide that by 4, you get 25. Get it? Okay, so the second one would be 25. 7 is 70%. This one seems a little easier than the other ones, right? What did I do to the 7? Do the same thing this way. All I can see is all I did was take off a 0, so I take off a 0 and it makes it a nice easy 10, right? So F is 10. And finally G. 7 is 35%. 7 is 35%, right? What did I do to the 7 to make it 35? Multiplied it by 5, right? So I have to go backwards here and divide by 5. Correct? And I get my 20 right there. So the last one is 20. Okay, I want to challenge you to make this figure right there as your key answer, but you cannot overlap a line. First of all, you can't take your pencil off the paper. It has to be consistent, okay? And you cannot overlap a line. So try that without overlapping and without lifting your pencil. Okay, as we've done before, please leave the guided practice for class so we can do it together as a warm-up. Do complete the independent practice on your own. Remember, you can always look at the examples. You can turn back and look at the examples if you need a little bit of help. So this one is explained in example 1, and you can see that here, example 3 and 4 will explain how to do those ones. Okay, so do the independent practice on your own at home. See you in class.